Hey there y'all, I'm here with another casual end of the year Q&A. Hope you don't mind more MVM footage in the background, it'll serve its purpose just fine for the video. Speaking of Team Fortress 2, I'm going to go ahead and get a question out of the way that I've seen a lot, that being in regards to my TF2 channel. Well, it's funny because I've already recently uploaded a new video after over a year of hiatus. These questions were asked before I uploaded, so I don't blame them for asking, but I figure I'll still talk about it. It's really simple, I'm just gonna upload whenever I want. Like, I've got a lot of clips because I still maintain the habit of keeping OBS open while I play, and I still keep all the clips organized and stuff. Like, I've got a decent amount of clips from Scream Fortress, and a lot for Smithsmiths. Originally, I was thinking about doing a Scream Fortress montage and then do a Smithsmiths one, which would make both of them very late. But honestly, I like the Smithsmiths clips a lot, so I'm probably just gonna try and get a montage for that done sometime after the event is done. Like early or mid-January maybe, though no promises, of course. And the Scream Fortress content can just, I don't know, maybe it'll wait till next year? Or maybe I'll just arbitrarily upload it somewhere in like April, I don't know. So yeah, I guess the TF2 channel is tentatively quote-unquote back, but I don't want to make any promises. This is something that is wholly, purely fueled by my whims. And given how impossible it's been to play the new Smithsmith maps recently due to bots, it could happen that my motivation for the game will just go right back down before anything else gets made. But I do appreciate the support and the fact that people still look forward to uploads there, so I do think I'll try to at least get this Smithsmith video made eventually. Alright, I'll tackle all the directly channel related questions next, I guess. First, I've got a lot of questions along the vein of what will you do after Smash? But just for ease of clarity, I'm going to focus on this prompt brought up by Roberto Garcia, who asks if I worry about Smash content drying up, what I'd do instead of Smash, and if I'd ever do non-gaming videos. For the first part, I guess it's possible that Smash content would dry up eventually. Whether or not that'll happen for my channel before a new Smash game comes out, I'm not sure. If you would have asked me that question a year ago, I'd probably confidently say yes, but at this point I feel like I have a good enough formula to where I could keep making interesting content about the game for like another 2 years maybe? At my slightly sluggish upload schedule at least. Now, would the content be inherently less interesting than it was in the first 1 or 2 years of the game's release? Yeah, I do think there'll be some dip in quality compared to the days where there were loads of glitches and tons of new character releases and all that, but I still think it can maintain a valuable level of intrigue and entertainment, and this year proved that to me. Because by all means, the channel should have died this year. At least that's what I was going into 2022 believing. So because of that, last year at the New Year's area, I was going into 2022 with the mindset that I'd either completely shift the focus of the channel to another game, or have to quit and do something else for a job. I think that's because I kept the bar for content a lot higher than it really needed to be, as apparently people really just like hearing fun little facts about the game. And as it turns out, there's still plenty of little crazy things about Smash Ultimate that are still being discovered or talked about. Now, like I said before, whether or not content dries up depends on how long it takes for a new Smash game to come out. But for my goals of the future, another 2 years of content is all I really need, so potentially no, I don't think Smash content will dry up in terms of what matters for my channel. Actually, that ties into the second question of the prompt, what would I do instead of Smash? Now, you've seen a few game reviews on the channel already. I don't really play games frequently enough to do that a whole lot, but if I ever get to a point where I need to depend on the channel a lot less for finances, or if I play a particularly incredible game, I'll probably continue making some kind of reviews. As for like a focus game, I said it last year and it's still my plan, but The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is going to be a title I try to focus some content around for at least a month or so. It's difficult because I don't want to rush through the game, but I don't think a basic review of it is how I want to start the whole content process, so I'd have to figure out what kind of content I could even make. But hey, maybe something similar to Smash, like a bunch of trivia or fun facts about it, could work just fine. If that pops off, I'll see how long that can last for, while sprinkling in some Smash stuff for the people who subscribed for that. And if it doesn't do well at all, then I'm probably just gonna stick to Smash for the remainder of the channel's lifespan. At this point, you've heard me mention a lifespan of sorts quite a bit, and this relates to a prompt asked by Centrillo regarding my major career goals. Basically, I've now got plans that fall outside of YouTube. And in the future, I think it'd be nice for me to have a career in Japanese to English translation as my main source of income, instead of YouTube. That's my plan, that's been my plan for the past almost 2 years of me studying the language, and it's what I'm going to be working towards. I've realized a lot of things throughout my YouTube career, and I think the biggest one is that I really don't like the uncertainty and insecurity that comes from a YouTube career. I don't like wondering whether or not this would be my last year being employed constantly. It's been very nice for what it's been. It has helped me get through a lot of very important times, but I don't see longevity in it. I'm trying not to put too much of a time limit over my head, and I've got a lot in savings for the potential prospect that I'll be completely without a job for a while as I make that transition. But basically, I'm not looking too far into the future of this channel. Like, yeah, I guess ultimately Smash will eventually stop being interesting, at least with the approach this channel has created, but I'm not super worried about looking past that 2-ish year mark because of my plans to move past YouTube as a career. Well, this is me talking about it as a career. But really, when I do get to a point where my main source of income is outside of YouTube, that doesn't mean I'm gonna stop making videos forever or anything. Well, really, if anything, that means I'll be able to upload precisely what I want, when I want. Maybe depending on the maintained success, I could even score some extra saving money, but I wouldn't want to really care about that after the transition is made. So if I play a game I like, it gets reviewed. If I have a funny video idea, that's going out. If I decide I want a whole month off without even thinking about a video, that'll be that. And in that stage of the channel, I actually foresee myself doing a lot of translation related work on here. You know, working on videos of localization things. Cool stuff that's in the Japanese version of a game and not in English. Maybe just straight up Japanese facts and whatnot. As you can tell, Japanese is really in my future no matter which way I plan it. I want it to be a part of my creative career in some way. Which I guess answers that last part of the previous prompt, which I've been talking about for quite a while now. Yeah, for non-gaming videos, I definitely see myself trying some basic Japanese content, but anything non-gaming outside of the occasional music upload will have to be in that hypothetical future where I've already got a career in translation work and YouTube is exclusively a hobby. And hey, if that new approach to the channel pops off, then that'll be a nice little bonus, but not the focus, you know? Alright, so I kinda said a lot there. Just to give you a good timeline, I'm gonna keep focusing on Smash for the next 2 years or so. Or really, I guess as long as I can reasonably keep it up before getting a new job. If the Zelda content next year pops off, that'll become the focus, but it'll mostly be that in Smash, and if not Zelda, then just Smash. And eventually, once I shift careers, the channel will become a grab box of whatever I'm thinking about, potentially with a high focus on Japanese language, translation, and localization kind of stuff. And since we're talking about types of uploads, I've gotten a few questions about the music uploads on the channel. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just haven't really been doing a ton of composing. I've got my hands in time full from studying Japanese, working out, and, well, I play a lot of games, so it's not like it's a time issue. As much as it is by the time I'm done studying or working or exercising, I don't have the energy to also compose. I don't think the musicality of me is gone by any means. It's just taking a step back to prioritize other things. But I've got song ideas that I'd love to make, so it'll happen eventually. It is just one of those things that I've relegated to my whims, but I guarantee once I get more free time, I can see that being more of a thing, especially now that I'm starting to learn the acoustic guitar. And I'm going to be putting a lot of time into that instrument because I really want to get good at it, and I think getting into that habit will help me get more musical in other areas. I really appreciate everyone who listens to my music too, so I do feel bad that I'm not making it a lot more, but I just hope that y'all will stick around and be there to listen to anything that happens. Next, Butter asks if I ever plan to do gameplay videos or anything. You can probably already assume the answer based on how that wasn't a part of the extensive planning I went over earlier, but yeah, I don't think gameplay videos are really my thing. Even for TF2 videos, I need to either get a very basic script or idea in mind, or just go full editing mode with a compilation or something. As a kid, I always wanted to be like Markiplier or those types of YouTubers, who are more like streamers, which was another thing I really wanted to be. But in my attempts and introspection, I've come to the conclusion that that just isn't me. I'm not really one for the live commentary, and especially when I play games, I just can't. You know, I can't focus on the game and talk at the same time, so one of those two aspects takes a huge hit. And on top of that, I get massive headaches after only like 1 or 2 hours of streaming. So I've tried it, but no, gameplay videos or streams just aren't for me. I don't think I'm particularly interesting, funny, or skilled enough for them, and I just don't have the energy to try and get better. Next, Celica asks what I'll be doing once I've exhausted all of the characters in the Wiki Trivia series. I hinted at this at the end of the most recent video, but once I've completed the roster and covered all the characters, I'm not really going to be systematic with it anymore. That being, instead of checking off topics from a list, I'm just going to find random topics like items, stages, attacks, etc., and just talk about things that I like. This will not only help me select even more interesting content and not feel obligated to talk about something even if it's not too interesting, but it'll also prevent me having to awkwardly skip over a subject that didn't have anything interesting. In reality, this is how the series probably should have been from the onset, but I'm close enough to the end of the roster now that I might as well just cap it off, you know? And once that's all done, I could even do some kind of supercut of all those videos, with the sponsor segments, intros, and outros all cut out, and edited to be more accurate in a few areas because I know I've made some mistakes. Next, No asks how I feel about my own channel, and if I've achieved or gotten closer to my goals. This is going to be related to the following question in some way, but I think I'm happy with my channel overall. There are things that I wish were different, and I'm sure you can guess a few of them, but I also generally know how to change some of those things, but given my circumstances and choices, I've just decided it's not really worth it. And for what it is worth, I'm happy with this channel's catalog of videos. I mean, it always pains me deeply when a video gets released with some really obvious bit of misinformation. And given that there's a handful of those on this channel's library, I can't say it's perfect, but I still think the type of content here can give newcomers many hours of very interesting entertainment, and teach a lot of people a lot about Smash Ultimate. And also more about how they can not only look at things from a different angle, but also how they themselves can loosely deploy the scientific method to test things and learn. So I've tried to maintain a good sense of integrity with this channel, and while there's areas that I do regret, I think I've succeeded in maintaining that integrity enough to be very proud of what I've created. And I really want to stress all of that because I feel like I get a lot of questions about the future, and because the future is moving away from the channel generally, I feel like it comes off that I dislike the channel or the process of making videos, and I really don't. I mean, sure, I kind of treat it like work, so it's not like I'm partying or dancing during the whole process or overdosing on dopamine or whatever, but I feel satisfied with everything I've made and the trajectory of the channel's future. Is there room for things to be better? Of course. But that doesn't change the fact that I really like things here. Related to that idea, Elia Morris asks if I have a subscriber count that I'm trying to hit, or if I'm satisfied with where I'm at now. Now, I'll be realistic. I'm sure just about anyone likes the idea of that funny number going way high. You know, can we get much higher? And I'd be lying if I said I didn't like the idea of having 1 million subscribers or whatever. But I also kind of realized that throughout these last 2 years, subscriber counts don't really matter a ton after a certain point, outside of like certain milestones. So really, since I don't see myself surpassing 500,000 or 1 million subscribers, the fact that I managed to get over 100,000 and get the silver plate is more than enough for me, and I'm so happy with that. It's a really cool achievement to have accomplished that no one can take away from me. I mean, I guess they can technically take away my plate, but I hope they don't do that. And I got it while uploading things that I like, you know, not farming low quality hot topics or something. My subscriber count has kind of been the same for the past couple of years, and recently it actually stays the same, like it goes up and down by 10 per month. And yet the channel is still really fun and awesome. So sure, as much as growth would be nice, I'm honestly liking the channel where it is, and that's as much as I can really ask for, given that I'm covering the same type of content I was like 3 years ago. Yes, I'm self-aware of this kind of stuff, I'm just okay with it. Next, SSM24 asks what my favorite and least favorite parts of making videos are. To a certain extent, my favorite and least favorite part, both, is uploading the video. But that's after making the video, so my least favorite part of making a video depends on what type of video it is, but generally for what's on the channel, it's the process of gathering footage and writing the script, which I do simultaneously. If the subject material was different, perhaps more intrinsic, like a review or something, I think I'd like the script writing a lot more. But for the bulk of the content on the channel, since I do those processes at the same time to be more efficient, it ends up being the most intensive part of the process, and sometimes it can be incredibly frustrating depending on how difficult it is to test things, or how many of the prompts I prepared ended up being false and wasting my time. It doesn't help that it's basically the start of the project too, and starting is always hard, so it's definitely a huge hurdle to get over. But once I have all the footage gathered and the script made, I really do enjoy the editing process, primarily because it's just about putting puzzle pieces together, you know? Before I get to that point, I get almost all of the assets ready, so once it's editing time, I can just sort of sit down, put things together, and that's all. It can be tedious work, but it's generally consistent, and sometimes it can even be kind of cathartic. Next, MNF asks what my favorite thing to discover in Smash Ultimate is. This generally ties into the channel for obvious reasons, but my favorite is pretty easily just major glitches. Well, major, really any type of glitch that's somewhat interesting. You've seen on the channel how excited I get about game crashes, so that's a pretty easy example. The prospect of finding anything game-breaking or incredibly fascinating that's new is just super cool to me. Like, yeah, this game isn't dying anytime soon or something. Next, Wild8168 asks how the content creation has affected my lifestyle or perspective on other things. Outside of the obvious answer of it making me money and allowing me to skip the hell of retail work, it's affected my lifestyle in the sense that I work from home with this job. Now, post-COVID, I'm sure a lot of people are in the same boat, so it's not particularly unique to content creation, but I still think it's a big aspect of the career that's worth talking about. When you work from home, it's a bit harder to stay physically active, which is a shame because I do like walks, but since my job mandates me being inside, I have to go out of my way to do any walking, which sucks. And just the fact that I'm sitting down in front of a computer is a big no-no. This year saw me making a lot of changes to my setup to be more ergonomic, due to increases of wrist pain and headaches. It's still not perfect. I probably could stand to have a, well, standing desk, but by the time I thought of that, I already bought a replacement desk and I didn't want to buy a whole new one after that. Maybe that'll be something for the future. As for affecting my perspective, it's hard to know how much of my mindset has come from YouTube, but it's definitely forced me to be better with expectations, handling criticism, making my own schedules, basically being my own manager, really. It's definitely allowed me to grow as an individual when I alone bear the cross for so many of those things, which I think is really important for a lot of aspects of life. It's hard to say how much YouTube has matured me because negative comments still make me feel really sad and stuff, but I think I've gotten better, at least, you know. Alright, that's it for the questions related to the channel directly, so let's go over some other general stuff. And let's start with Smash related questions since that kind of makes sense. First, Dippin' Dots asks what the biggest change I'd make would be to any future Smash game. You know, this sort of relates to a video idea I had for the future where I sort of speculate and wish about things for whatever new Smash game eventually comes out. There's a buttload of things I'd change about Smash Ultimate for a new game, but if I had to choose one, I mean, I don't know if it really counts as a change, but just a better internet connection. There's a lot of things I'd change about gameplay, but it doesn't matter how good that is if you have a second of input delay on the best of days. And as much as I'd like single player things changed too, I think the multiplayer is more important, so yeah, better connection. I know it's a big ask from Nintendo, but whatever. Next, I actually got 2 people asking me what I'd do for a complete character revamp. I'm sure there's a lot of very reasonable answers here, and Ganondorf is a very good candidate for this, but I've gotta answer Young Link, I think. Make him more like Majora's Mask Link. Have a down special or something that has him cycle through masks, which could have a Monado-like effect. Maybe his other specials are just him using the transformation masks. There's a load of things that you could do, and I just think their awkward mismatch of Ocarina of Time Link here is just kinda boring. Next, Lily Lambda asks what my opinions on Smash modding are. I really like mods, and back in Smash 4 I even frequently use them when playing. I mean, they can be really cool. I feel like there's some examples of not cool ones I could show, but maybe I won't, maybe I'll let you figure that out yourself. The issue for me is that I'm not exactly confident in modding my Switch, and that's not really a cheap purchase if things go wrong. I'm sure at some point I could bite the bullet and look into it, but right now, as much as I think mods are really cool and awesome, I'll leave that to other folk. Not to mention, I think it's important for my content to go over the vanilla version of the game, that way I know the things that I experience are things that anyone else with the game could experience. If I have mods and I experience a bug, then there could be no telling if that's a vanilla bug or something that's weird due to the modding, and that question would just make testing a lot more annoying. But yeah, I like them, I think they're cool. What I don't think is cool is spirits, just like Dog Boyton asked me about. Why am I opposed to them? Well, I do think to an extent I play it up a bit more just for the sake of humor, but I think what I dislike about spirits has less to do with them on their own and more to do with what they essentially replaced. Trophies, custom moves, a story mode, that kind of thing. And I've never really been intrigued by the spirit battles from a gameplay perspective, so it just makes collecting spirits a bit of a drag for me too, which is a shame because I do think spirits themselves can have some pretty neat effects. I mean, a lot are basic, but some stand out as being really unique and janky, which is fun. But because there's so many spirits and the process of unlocking them, to me, is a hassle, it just kinda stinks. So when you take all that and look at the things they essentially ended up replacing that I did like, and yeah, it's just kind of a sour spot for me, I think. And lastly for Smash, Odie Seth asks how I, as a Smash tuber, feel about the Smash community as a whole. I was hesitant answering this for a few reasons, but I think I have enough opinions to make it worth talking about. First, I think just about any community can kinda suck. Because the word community in this stance is so broad and encompassing that it inevitably includes a lot of stinkers. Just awful people. And as much as I'd like to get to a mental point where I can ignore them for the vocal minority that they are, I'm not quite there yet, and that stuff still leaves a terrible taste in my mouth. So generally speaking, I'm wary of any community just for the fact that it's an extremely large number of usually anonymous people. But that word can be used in more specifics, I suppose. And for the Smash community, when I hear that phrase at least, I feel like I have more experience in the competitive area of that. And there's a lot of drama in the competitive Smash community. I partook or even just overlooked a lot of it in the past, but I think maybe it was earlier this year, I think it was actually somewhere late 2020, that I just decided to completely block it out. Unfollowed basically every Smash account aside from content creators, and I just stopped. I mean, okay, there's something that came up earlier this year that I was interested in because I guess it got so big that it breached the Smash community area and got to my timeline, but I do kind of regret even thinking about that in retrospect. It just sucks, you know? Like, outside of that, the last time I really interacted with any kind of Smash community was the drama. Ultimately, I just don't like how impersonal it can feel with lots of toxicity and, not drama. I don't like using the word drama for everything because some of it can be very serious, but yeah, just disgusting stuff coming from the surface. And I get more than enough of that from the world news, so I just tried to block it all out. And I feel bad saying that because I know there's so much good in communities as well. So many really cool members, so much awesome activity, so many cool events, stuff like that. I'm not really in a spot where I need more negativity, even if I get a lot of positivity alongside it. Maybe that's something I should grow on myself, but I guess I'm just not really into Smash enough to really think it's worth it, you know? So I guess to answer the question, I don't really care about the Smash community in a large sense. But I think there's good in there, and I'm glad that they're doing what they're doing, and that they're working through what they're working through. I don't know, is there a casual Smash community? When I think of casual Smash, I think of like just families who own the game, you know? I mean, when I was like originally playing through the game, trying to make my channel and whatnot, I actually thought about making casual Smash like a bigger thing. I think AlphaRad's doing that right now, pretty much. I don't know if he's like done it a lot more. I know he's done it in the past though. You know, having a focus on weird stages, dumb rules, lots of items, that kind of stuff. I don't really know if there's like a hardcore community. If there is, I bet I'd like it a lot more, but you know, I'm just still kind of wary of the word community in general, because every time I've experienced a quote-unquote community, it's left a bad enough taste in my mouth to where I like the smaller groups now, you know? I like it when it's more tightly knit, which I guess technically also plays into the mindset of me eventually wanting to change careers, because YouTube itself is a very big community thing, you know? Alright, now that was a little bit negative, so let's just move on to general stuff. First, RK Juan asks how I find motivation. Really, it depends on what you're talking about, since the source of motivation can vary. For example, my source of motivation for making videos is finances. If I don't make adequate money for that month, I'm kinda screwed. And if I don't upload a lot, the channel's future could get worse. I'm still not really sure how the algorithm works, but it kinda makes sense, you know? And there's the fact that sponsored deadlines exist. Deadlines are a really good source of motivation, by the way. I mean, okay, all of that sounds pretty negative, but it gets me doing things in a timely manner, so I think that's actually pretty valid. Whereas motivation for something like my exercise routine comes in a few forms. One is the intrinsic desire to be healthy and living a long life. It's a pretty good one. Another being how I recognize how good I feel after working out or eating healthy, so that habit creates a good cycle of dopamine, which is also good motivation. And also the fact that I inherently want to look good, or at least better than I used to. So while I can take breaks, I always go back due to my fear of gaining weight or losing progress. Well, okay, saying fear makes it sound more negative. Really, it's more of an aversion to being lazy and inactive and the consequences of that. Like earlier this year, I reached my goal of getting my weight below 200 pounds, but then I realized that in order to be super fit, I either had to lose like an extra 20 or 30 pounds, which was getting extremely difficult, or I had to start focusing on building muscle. I chose the latter because that was kind of my goal at the start anyways, because I think bulky figures are cooler than just pure leanness, and that's what I wanted for myself. So that's where I am now. I'm back above 200, but I've built a lot of muscle. I still need to get a lot better about dieting and doing cardio. I've sort of taken the holidays off. But yeah, it's been good and I feel great. And related to that, Cold Beef asks what my motivation to start learning Japanese was, which I'll in turn include in the topic of motivation. Certainly, a part of my motivation for studying Japanese is to help provide a basis for a future career in that field, something more stable than what I have now, but a lot of it is just intrinsic. I'm extremely interested in this, and it always feels good to learn more, understand more, and see my progress. So that's kind of it. A lot of things I love are, in their native language, Japanese, so it allows me to re-experience my childhood basically through a new lens. And even for new content native to Japanese, it's really fun to watch it. Basically, it can turn normal, hobby, relaxing things, like playing games or watching TV, into active studying and development. Which, I mean, does slightly reduce how relaxing it is. I'm not yet at a level where I can effortlessly understand everything, but it's close enough, you know? And yeah, really, it's just that I like it a lot. It's very interesting, satisfying, and practical. All things that I like in life. So overall, for motivation, there are going to be things that you're intrinsically interested in, and that doesn't need too much of a boost to get going. But even then, sometimes it can be hard to get the ball rolling. So what do you do then? I really do think that maintaining some kind of good diet and workout schedule, and of course sleep schedule, will do all of the world for how your motivation works in all other aspects of your life. I know that gets said a lot, but it gets repeated for a reason. It's because it works. Now, how you end up getting into those habits is going to depend on your personal circumstances. And I realize that it's a lot easier to say these things than to actually do them. Like, if you can't leave the house a lot, then working out may be harder. And it may be worth either investing in some kind of home workout machine or looking into a stretch routine or something. But if you focus on getting those things fixed, somehow, then I guarantee you'll get more energy throughout the day. And as for other things, making hard deadlines for yourself can be good, and putting in place actual consequences if you don't meet those deadlines is super important. Similarly, making some kind of rule system for yourself, like you have to do X or Y because then you can have a snack or something, or relax or whatever, can be good too if done in moderation. Now, doing that kind of stuff requires a lot of discipline and self-control, but I do think it's a very good skill to have. And also just be sure to take breaks, because if you don't, surprise surprise, you burn out. And any motivation you had gets fizzled out and you start from square one. I take plenty of breaks, and I think that has really helped me in the long term. Now, I guarantee plenty of people would say that I take too many breaks, and that I could afford to work a lot more. But I also think those people are probably going to die while having over 80% of their waking hours spent doing mindless work. And I don't exactly want that much of a stressful, tiring, unfulfilling life myself. I see no reason to work if I don't in turn get the ability to enjoy the money that I make. For some people, their work is their daily enjoyment, but that's not going to be everyone, and it certainly won't be me. And it may not be you. So keep that in mind. Take plenty of breaks and enjoy yourself while staying healthy and active. And I think you'll get plenty of motivation. It's going to be a long journey, and it's going to be pretty difficult, but it'll definitely be worth it. And of course, that doesn't really include mental health or mental illness. I know that that's a whole other beast, and I don't really have a lot of advice for that kind of stuff, unfortunately. Other than that, I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you get the treatment that you need. Because there's always going to be a tomorrow, and there's always going to be a good future to look forward to. And at the very least, even if it's kind of difficult for reasons you can't really help, I do think focusing on one of the aspects that I mentioned before can maybe help you get pushed in the right direction. I'm not a psychologist, but you know. Next, eNecofan888 has a few questions here. First, they ask if I have other hobbies or interests besides video games or music. I mentioned it before, but working out is big for me right now. Mostly building muscle, though I don't go too hard on that like other folks do with a buttload of supplements or crazy routines. I just kind of like lifting weights on a good schedule and having a decent diet. Also, cooking. I wish I did it more often myself, but I still love watching cooking content and learning about different foods, recipes, methods, and just food science and stuff. It's really fun and cool, and that's another hobby of mine, if you can call it that. And obviously, Japanese. That's like my whole non-working life right now, really. Which sometimes takes the form of video games, but it can also take the forms of books, manga, anime, videos, or just culture in general. Oh yeah, the question asks a favorite anime of mine. I got a few I love, but the big one right now for me is One Piece. I'm still catching up. As I write the script, I'm around the episode like 900 or something. Basically, I just started Wano Kuni. I can't really put into words how much I love this show and this story, and how much it's affecting my creative mind more than any other piece of media has in the last decade or so, but yeah, I love One Piece. I'm excited to catch up to the anime and then the manga and then follow alongside everyone else every week. Though I am kind of sad to think that at some point I'll have to wait a whole week before the new One Piece. I mean, I've been watching it not daily, but almost daily for the last like year and a half now, almost. But oh well. And favorite card game. I like BS, that can be pretty fun. I haven't really played cards in a while, but that was always a go-to for me as a kid. Alright, Kipper asks, frogs or birds? Now, I do like frogs, and one of my childhood stuffed animals was a frog, so I've got a soft spot for them, but I'm sorry, birds are just way cooler. And also much more of a broad category than frogs, like that includes a lot of things. Like crows are probably one of my favorite animals, like top 5 for sure. They're just so cool, dude. It's a dream of mine to one day feed a whole murder of crows and have them memorize my face or something, like I know they apparently do that. It'll happen one day, and it'll be awesome. Next, 2 people ask who my main in TF2 is. It's definitely Soldier, and it's not even close. He's probably one of the biggest reasons I've stuck with this game for as long as I have. I mean, maybe not really, because I do love Spy and Demoman too, and Medic scratches a certain itch I occasionally have. Sniper can be fun too, but on the days where I underperform horribly, which is often, it kinda sucks, but you know, those other 4 classes, love them. So yeah, while I do love Soldier the most, I do try to play multiple classes, outside of Heavy, who I hate playing as, and Scout, who I'm absolutely terrible with, but yeah, no matter what, I always go back to Soldier the most. Next, Mustache Man asks what my favorite Zelda game is. If you know me by now, you know that I can rarely decide on a single favorite of anything, so instead here's a tier list I made of the series with no order within the tiers, and that'll give you a good idea of what I like. Next, Jacoby Sharp asks if I had a good year. Yeah, I really have. The channel maintained success when I didn't think it would, and if anything, my prospects for the future are even better now, after a few other developments. I've made good progress with my fitness goals, reaching my sub 200 pound goal and making a lot of progress with my weightlifting and strength and stuff. I've made lots of progress on my studying this year to the point where I can generally play any game in Japanese and at least make it through the experience. Most recent game I played was Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which proved to be really good practice and proved to me that I'm actually pretty good at this stuff now, which made me happy. So yeah, overall just a lot of good progress this year. And while I didn't really reach all of these specific goals I set for 2022 last year, I still did well enough to be completely satisfied. And lastly for today, Tanimations asks what my goals are for the next year. As for goals specifically in 2023, I've got a good amount. For one, I want to get to a point of Japanese proficiency to where I could pass the JLPT N1 test, which is the highest level, which I would then schedule sometime early 2024 or whenever. So basically, I just want 2023 to be the last big hurdle of my studying. And while I'd obviously need plenty more studying throughout probably my entire life, this would be the last really big hurdle to breach before I can even start considering translation as a career or anything. So no specific quantifiable numbers, just getting a general sense that I could pass this test. On top of that, I'm not really sure what my goals are for fitness. It kind of depends on what my blood results come back like, if I've got anything worrying that I need to fix. If there's nothing, or at least nothing major, I guess I just want to get better about doing cardio and dieting, and otherwise just keep lifting weights, see how far I can go. I think I've got a pretty good rhythm now, I just need to get back into it after this holiday break. Oh, and a big one for me is learning the acoustic guitar like I mentioned earlier. I got one gifted for me from Santa Claus for Christmas, and I really want to get good with it. So for 2023, my hope is to reach a competent level, since I think being able to play the guitar will open a lot of instruments for me, so getting over this hurdle will mean a lot. Right now it's really hard for me to even make proper sounds from the strings, or make chords without accidentally touching the other strings, because maybe I have like fat fingers, or maybe I think it's probably just the positioning I need to get better with. And I need more calluses on my fingers too, because they're little soft little babies, so I keep getting hurt trying to play, but if I keep at it, hopefully it'll all get better. It's just one of those things where if so many other people can do it to at least a basic level, then I can definitely do it too. I just gotta go through the motions, just like usual. And for the YouTube channel, you've heard it a lot now, but basically just keep doing Smash Ultimate content, with a few series ideas I might give a try. And once Tears of the Kingdom releases, I'll try my hand at a few videos there. Otherwise, kind of just more of what you've seen already, and what you've heard me talk about at the beginning section of this video. That was a very big section. So yeah, those are all my thoughts regarding the things you've asked. I hope y'all have kept yourselves well this year and have good plans or hopes for 2023. I guess I don't really need to keep it on around for any longer, so just rest up, do what it is you need to do, and let's tackle 2023 together. And with that, I'd like to thank my patrons Parade Dino, Raighne, Skully, 700, Burbo, SickanDaDank, and everyone else for their support. Stay casual, and I'll see y'all next year.